I don't know. How good was Mufasa's like pride run? I don't know. Question marks for another
Especially
time.
when Kovu was so hot. Welcome to Last Two Pages, where two best friends who love to read just can't keep it to themselves. I'm Teresa.
And I'm Megan, and today we'll be talking about villains.
Am I the villain?
Is it me?
I'm not the bad guy. Maybe I am.
We thought today would be a great time for us to just kind of talk about villains because why not? They're not talked about enough. I feel like we talk about the protagonist and the plots and like the romance of it all and like the morally gray hot boys. But you know what? Who needs to have a platform? Villains.
Well, the thing is about villains is that like they can be easily written very poorly.
Right.
And a well-written villain, you kind of gotta respect the grind that they go on.
100%.
I'm like, damn. Like, I don't agree, but I get it.
Right.
That's the best villain.
Maybe the means to the end are not altruistic. They don't make sense for everyone. But you know what? I get why you would do that. But then others, it's like, okay, that's a lot. Like, well, why was that your journey? What's going on? But a good written villain has all of those things.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And couldn't have said better myself. Maybe I could have.
Probably. What do you think goes into like being a good villain other than
being smart? Like, if you're not clever and like planning ahead, if it's just like you're gonna send them on this little cat and mouse game, I don't know, we've seen that so many times before,
Right.
and that works for the Joker and like that style of villain. But like when if it's like a deep-rooted villain that you don't know is the villain until like later on,
I eat that up.
or a villain that just owns the villainhood.
I feel like villains being able to rationalize their actions and for us as the audience to be like, yeah, I get it. That makes a good villain.
Yeah.
Then you look at them with more humanity. You know what I mean? You're like, wow, that 100% makes sense to me. Why you would do that in the situation that you're in or like the backstory that you've had.
Or the villains that just stick to their guns the whole time. Like truly they are
Right.
rotten inside and out, and they don't have like a last second. Like I get a come to Jesus moment and like a redemption arc, but for a villain to like stay consistent the whole time is kind of epic.
I agree.
To show that true contrast. And like not everything is black and white. Yes. But sometimes when you have, especially with the glorification of morally gray, it's like there's the romanticization of like that traditionally evil character.
Mm-hmm.
But like when there's now a villain that is just
rotten
to the core.
I agree. That's refreshing.
Or it just makes me cry.
You're good at that.
You know what? Sometimes I want the heartbreak in my books because I just want to be hurt sometimes.
Right.
And it's better from an outward source than an inward source.
That's why books are great. That's why books are great. We're here for you, Teresa. No tears at the table.
Okay.
So imagine a fantasy world. Close your eyes, imagine.
Close your eyes, shut your
You
mouth.
are the villain. What kind of being are you?
I think I would be like a desperate villain. Like
Ooh.
what kind of being? Sorry, I'm already getting into it. The being I would be is I think I would be what everyone else is on this planet,
Right.
whether that be fae, human, alien. Yeah.
You're not like like anything special. The
No.
common being.
That, or I would be like one of those kids that were pointed out as being like advanced. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Like the pipeline of that to burnout, because I feel like that's the type
the
of
gifted kid, the gifted child.
I feel
to
like I
burnout
would be a burnt out, like in Meet the Robinsons.
The movie?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a book or not. I don't know why I said that. The one
the
that like
movie
with the
with, like-
blonde-haired kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the bowler hat man.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd be the bowler hat man type of villain.
You absolutely would be the bowler hat man type of villain. I don't know
Like-
what his name is.
Slightly mentally just,
Deranged.
yeah, not there. Something happened. And now I'm like, I think what drives me
Mm-hmm.
is some idea, or I think this is the only way for it to be, and I'm desperate to make it a change, and so I like don't care about the means at all.
Ooh.
And I'm trying to like succeed in this because I think it will better society or save everyone.
Right. What do you think would get you there? Like, is there a catalyst for this?
My family probably was murdered. You know, like
Original.
classic.
Just kidding.
No, like, something like
My
just
family's just murdered.
hella traumatic.
And you're like, this is the only way to fight the system.
And like you can't fully hate me because like,
you went through shit.
yeah, I guess so.
But then you just kind of went insane and
Mhm.
like, you know, whatever. Okay.
The only way to stop me is by putting me down.
Yeah. Do you do you work alone, or do you have like a mafia behind you, or you know, something like that, like a group? Or
I don't think anyone would be on my side. Maybe paid. I don't know where I'd get the money. Maybe life insurance.
yeah, like what are you trying to overcome? Like
I
I know
have
you're
no
fighting.
idea.
You're like, yeah, I gotta fight the system for the good of everyone. But like, what are you doing?
I think I'd be someone that's like working with the good guys, but like is just too slightly bad that I turn
You take
into
it
the
too
villain.
far?
Yeah.
You always take it too far. Okay.
I think that would be me.
There's no
Like
okay,
in the rebel
yeah.
in the rebel cause, I would be. But what being would you be?
I love that we went through your whole thing. That actually looped around perfectly.
Thank you.
I think I'd probably be the same. Like probably human, lacking any like ability. I don't see myself as like a all powerful sorceress or like the hand of God or anything like that,
The
you know.
thing
But I feel
is-
like I would be like how I asked you the mafia question. I could be like the figurehead, you know.
See, I picture you as a Jafar character. Like you.
I'm leading the hyenas
No.
to kill the lions. No, that's not Jafar.
That's Scar. From the Lion King.
You said that
You were so confident. You're like me and the hyenas. Absolutely. You're somewhere in the Disney universe.
not Jafar. Jafar is from Aladdin, right? Yeah.
Yes. But I see you as like a puppeteer.
Oh, that actually tracks.
Mhm.
That tracks a lot. I don't think I would have the same, like, I feel like I would have a very not well thought out, like, arc at all. It would just be like, yeah, she wants to be the most powerful and will do anything to get there.
Exactly.
You know, and like, I
Jafar.
don't feel like I would have this, like, for the good of mankind, for whatever. I'm like, the people in power suck. And so I would be better fit. So let me just get there by whatever means necessary.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be my vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't like trap genies or anything like that, like Jafar, or lead a pack of hyenas. But actually, I
You
feel like that would be
would.
more my vibe.
Yeah.
Scar
like,
would definitely be like,
the cast out
Yeah.
brother. That's definitely like.
yeah,
You were wronged by like one person, and then you're like,
I'm killing their bloodline.
yeah. Like you would be in a one-track mind of like decimating an entire
That's kind of why I didn't like Lion King, honestly. I was like, not Scar did nothing wrong, but like
Not a Scar sympathizer.
I was more just like, I don't know. How good was Mufasa's like pride run? I don't know. Question marks for another time.
Especially when Kovu was so hot. It's my villain arc.
You're like, but the other villain is hotter, so I'm gonna become a villain to like, yeah,
Exactly.
okay, that makes sense.
Exactly.
I feel like we would be bad villains though.
I would not be good at it.
No, that I get the whole like, I'm gonna do the worst. Like, I feel like you'd be crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
I think yeah.
Yeah.
Just like me and the Riddler would be like friends. I don't know why I'm in a Batman world for
I was
villains.
gonna say, we do not need to go down that path,
I'm
knowing
really
where
in the
we've been.
shows in my brain for villains. Those
Okay.
are all coming to the forefront of my brain cells.
So we also wanted to talk to you all about some villains that we've read in books that have like stuck with us that we really liked. So we both came with 2 villains, and we're just going to tell you a little bit about their backstory. Spoiler alert, the books that we'll be talking about are Rebel by Marie Lu, Akhtar by Sarah J. Maas, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, and the Shades of Magic series by V.E. Schwab. So if you don't want to know anything about those series or the villains, then you can exit now. One of my most impactful villains that I've ever read about was in Rebel by Marie Lu. His name was Dominic Hahn. He ends up really being morally gray because of what he was fighting for, and I like honestly get it. Does that make him a true villain? I don't know, but I felt like as this was a series that ended, and then she added on one extra book and had to create an entire new plot storyline villain with just this one book for one of the characters' younger brothers. And I was like, this is so weird. Like, why am I reading this? I don't think I'm going to like it. Amazing. You got some of the other characters. You got the little brother story. Yeah, it was great. So Dominic Hahn runs like a mafia-like underground ring. And this is in Antarctica, in like future state where the country is like falling apart, like the United States, and like North America is falling apart. All of those like stage 4 countries that are like well established have now like crumbled, deteriorated, and all of those civilizations that we believe in present time are like wastelands, have nothing, are like the superpowers of the world now, right? So Antarctica has evolved to become this utopia, or so you think, and it basically runs like a video game where you have a chip implanted in your head, and every good thing that you do is rewarded with points, and every bad thing that you do takes away those points, and those points can determine where you live, what jobs you can get, like all of this stuff. If you are under a point level, like you can't even get basic medication. And so it's a way to like not have crime and everyone to be perfect, but is it really? So this man gets all the way down like to the bottom of the levels and basically just doesn't care anymore.
What's a bad thing?
A bad thing is like
you jaywalk?
Yeah, yelling at someone, gambling, like in a school setting, it would be like cheating on a test, or like bullying someone, you would get negated, those things. But there's a way to cheat the system, like, oh my gosh, I thought you were going to get hit by something, and shoving them. So there's ways around it that people have figured out that cheat the system that aren't great. So basically what happens is his wife and son die, and producers, both of them, I haven't run this in a little bit, both of them die, and he can't, like, because he wasn't able to get medicine for them, they were like living on the streets, like there was nothing for him or them. And what happens is he wants to destroy that system, so he's trying to build a machine that will wipe out the level system, and it results in chaos within Antarctica. The level system is completely connected to like how the city runs, with like billboards, and like it basically just looks like white buildings without it. like just very, I don't know if I'm
And he's the
explaining
bad
this well.
guy?
He's a bad guy. But basically he creates anarchy and he kills anyone to get there. He kills, that's what makes him like bad, is that he kills everyone to get to that spot. And no matter what, like it's I want to create anarchy so I can rule this how I want to. Do I necessarily see that as a bad thing? I don't know. But it seems like all of his stuff, like he was making money off of, it was basically like pod racing that they would do like in the underground, and that's what they would do. And he would make money off of that. So yeah, it was a great book. I really loved it. Rebel by Marie Lu.
Wow. That is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard to,
it's hard to like wrap your head around the whole,
especially if you like partially agree with him.
But that's what I loved about him. He like did horrible things, but I was like, God, you know, even though this is like the very black and white society of like what's good and bad, you have to come to terms with the fact that he's a gray character in this black and white world.
That would be a Black Mirror episode.
It would be, honestly. I feel like it is a Black Mirror episode.
I know there are a few like that, but that's
loved him.
Makes you think.
Mm-hmm. What was your villain that you liked?
My first one. So, in The Shades of Magic by V.E. Schwab, the main villain to me was magic.
Oh.
And so that's why I really liked it, because in just the lust for magic, and pure magic corrupts. And so with that, then all of the dribble downs to how that affects people and like the plot was really interesting, because it's like you're fighting a solid force that has no rhyme or reason besides like expanding.
That's wild.
And how Shades of Magic is set up, there's 4 types of London layered on top of each other. They're kind of like dimensions. There's Grey London, which is a place without magic, and it's basically like regular London, and it kind of takes place during pre-industrial revolution, kind of like classic fantasy world, but also a little grimy and kind of steampunk-ish, just kind of dirty. Then there's Red London, which is where the main character Kel is from, and it's a land of plenty with magic working side by side with people. There's like a good balance. They have this river of magic, and because magic is like in everything, it's in all of the elements and the people, but it only shows itself in a few people, and Kel is one of those. They're called the Itari or Entari, oh dang. And the way the magic shows in them is through one of their eyes is black.
Oh.
Because magic, like in its pure form, is black. So then the next London is White London, and it's a place where magic is controlled, and like death and blood run wild in the streets, and it's like it's a very scrappy, desperate, like the magic is being kind of leached, and like if you have any magic, you're in power. And then there's Black London, where the magic took over and London fell, and they had to like seal off any of the portals that got there, because only a few people can step through each of these Londons, and that's how the people in power like communicate with each other, and only the people in power really know about each other. Like Grey London has no idea about magic, except for a few people that are just like conspiracy theorists. And then Red London, obviously, it's like land of plenty. They have magic. Right. Rulers are great. White London, all of the leaders are constantly being shoveled through, because there's always a change in power. They're always killing the leaders and like getting through.
Well, I'm sure his magic is running rampant. Like the more it, like, does it make them? Is it kind of like chaos?
Well, no, White London. The thing is, it's like there's a scarcity of magic.
Oh,
and so any magic that anyone can like grab onto is eaten, or just like they're
ingested.
desperate for it.
Okay, got it.
And greedy and hungry, and Then magic does have like a sentience and like
Right.
a being and like slowly consumes people
Mm-hmm.
and like takes over, and then it's like their will, the magic's will is like who they're fighting against.
That's so
because
interesting.
they're trying to like consume all of these places
Yeah.
and like suck all the magic and be bigger. And so it made the read of the story feel like a build up to a final boss,
Right.
which was fun because so they had to continually like pick on all of the
You're getting little trickles
underlings
to like a river, to a waterfall. Like you felt like it was,
and it spread like a contagion type issue. It would be like if you
Interesting.
touch someone that was like consumed by magic, it would like
Leech
be a
onto
domino
you.
effect. And so that was really fun. And it's one of those things where it's like you can only stop it or it just wins.
Right.
Like there's only two things that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Or you had to like figure out the balance, and that's what like Red London has figured out.
It's like
But-
a crazy ultimatum.
Yeah, it's that or like magic consumes all. It was really fun.
Yeah,
Great
that
read.
sounds
And,
like a great read.
As a villain being like this overarching like source.
Right.
And
Instead
then
of
it,
a person. It's like a swarm.
And like at first it like wasn't a person, and then it like takes
A form.
yeah.
Corporeal form. Wow.
And like will like it can wow. It like takes over as hosts in people's bodies and like works through them, and so a lot of the people that are like really bad are just like consumed by magic.
Right. Interesting.
It's a cool read. It's really good. It's a good series. Yeah.
I need to read it. My second villain might be familiar to some of you. This is Amarantha from ACOTAR by Sarah J. Maas. I feel like she isn't talked about enough. So Amarantha, for those who don't know, was a former general of this land that was trying to conquer this other land, right? So she went from court to court in this place, charming all of the high lords to talk with more trade, more communication, like was putting up a great show.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you drink. Putting on a great show. And so she then uses, like, after 50 years, she's been doing this kiki with all of them. And then she tricked all 7 of them out of their power by using a spell stolen from her land and drugged them. And so she took control of Prithian within days and proclaimed herself the High Queen. And then she set up court in this sacred place and tortured and killed and did literally all of the bad things. Like, picture the worst person and like what they would do. Amarantha probably did it.
Yeah.
What I liked about her was that she was ruthless. Nothing could touch her. Not only did she convince all of these like most powerful beings in the land to do her bidding as just like a high fae, she did it with somewhat ease.
Yeah.
Had them all by the balls.
Frankly, way
so
too easy.
quick, literally so quickly, and kept that power for 50 years by herself. That's unheard of. Like, that's crazy.
It was intense.
Yeah, it was amazing. She stole all of their power and was able to use it against them.
Not all of it.
Okay.
They all had a scrap
Most
of their
of
power.
it.
They did not give up their powers. It was taken from
It was like a drop. They had like a little bit left, but not enough where they were able to control the way they used to. It used to like flow freely through the lands, and how do they describe it? It was like underwater or something, or there was like a gate between them and their full power potential.
Yeah,
There was something like it was like a mental block. Like they could feel it, but it couldn't go through.
They had no access to
Right.
it.
So yeah, they had a little bit, but not enough where they do anything beyond like basic tricks and whatever. And so I liked that she had a really unlikable personality. And I think that shined through the whole time. Like, you know what she's going to say. You know how she's going to act.
Yeah.
It's not really like I liked that she wasn't necessarily quick-witted.
She was a classic prideful villain.
Exactly. It was pride, envy, like those were so prominent. It just made her super memorable to me. And yeah, it was, I just like think about her all the time. Like, yeah, was she eventually defeated
By a little human.
because she was prideful and thought she could do anything? But truly, if Feyre didn't say that word, she would not, like, it would not have,
Yeah.
she would have continued to be the high, like, queen of Prythian for ages and ages and ages.
Yeah. Nothing was really stopping her. Her, like, guy that was in charge of her didn't really care.
Not at all.
And frankly, poorly written villain, King of Hybern.
Yeah. Like, the general for him was written better than he actually was.
I think that's why Amarantha stood out so much, is because the King of Hybern were so lame in comparison.
Especially when, like, you know, the High Lords regain their power
Yeah.
and stuff. Like, after that, you're like, oh, that, like, how was she even able to take control of all of these people? I think that made her
Trickery.
infamous. Once you fully understood, like, oh my God, all these people, like, seriously
Just fell right
are
into her
gods.
little
And she
web.
just, like, had them. That's crazy.
She had them by the balls for a while.
50 years.
And
is
then she, like,
nuts.
murdered children, assaulted
Like,
everyone.
a lot of children.
Awful. Awful.
I'm not sitting here saying I like Amarantha
Amarantha
at all. She is
sympathizer.
unlikable in all forms, but she was well written.
Yeah.
So,
She was.
yeah, Amarantha was great.
Sarah J. Maas has a few really well written
They're either
villains.
really good or just meh.
Yeah. Or just meh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is your next villain for this evening?
My last villain is, you love to hate him, Coriolanus Snow
Oh,
from The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. He was so, she was able to write a whole prequel about him. And it's like, she wrote the prequel so well that it's like, you get where he's coming from, but you also still hate him.
mm-hmm.
Because he is just a result of his upbringing. Nurture versus nature.
Mm-hmm.
And like, his dad, bad guy, dare I say, an arsehole.
An arsehole.
And he had to like scrounge about, and then he was like, the only way to survive is to be like the most powerful, and the only way to be the most powerful is to have this control, and the only way to have this control is if you have
The power to kill children.
yeah. Just or
The 75th Hunger Games.
something to keep them in line.
Yeah.
Like, and he didn't even start the Hunger Games, but the Hunger Games almost died out.
Right.
But he realized that like he could harness this and like use it and amp it up, and he did,
Mastermind.
and was successful for a hot minute.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no, I saw some tweets about how Lucy Gray and Peeta were super similar as like the performers. They knew how to play the game.
Yeah.
Where Katniss and Snow wanted to do everything in their power to end the games, but understood the power that they held within that. Katniss hated the games, but knew that she could use the people watching it to create a statement, like how she did in Catching Fire.
True.
In the same way that Coriolanus going through the games in the way that he did, he understood how powerful it was and utilized that for his own gain to make the rest of the districts fear the capital for 75 years after that.
He became the president of Panem.
Yeah, like that's so, like that's a well written
And yeah,
arc
he,
in
like,
general.
He didn't like the games, and like until he got power hungry.
Right. He saw what the districts did and he like had hope from that, but I think it was the control, right? Like his undying need for control ultimately is what killed him,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Because poison.
Yeah.
And his like main mode to kill people being poison is just, he's a trickster.
Hot girl shit.
It really is.
Right.
That's why like most females are known for like poisoning. Hot girl shit.
Hot girl shit. I loved in the first games when he let, when it wasn't Plutarch. It was the one before that. The game maker. When he let Peeta and Katniss live, and then he like gets asked to come in and like meet with Snow, and it just is the bowl of the berries.
He had the power.
Yeah.
He had so much power, and he knew how to wield it to like for it to work.
He was silent, but so deadly.
So deadly.
Like him just showing up at Katniss's house to have a conversation. Like that is some like, oh wow. It just makes you shiver thinking about it.
Because like you know what he's about and like what he's doing. He has this power and he knows he has this power, and then he makes everyone else feel so powerless.
Insignificant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was able to harness that for so long until like this other entity came to challenge him, and then Katniss realized that it's not just a Snow being bad, it's just that people like ultimate power corrupts, or absolute power corrupts absolutely, and she realized that, and that's why she shot the other lady, because she just as bad.
Mm-hmm.
She saw that like even in good there can be, or like in the,
It's like yin yang,
yeah,
you know, in all good there's a little bad.
oh, I
in
was
all
thinking
bad,
more
there's
like
little
a
good.
wolf in sheep's clothing.
Oh, just kidding. There's
Like
that.
these people can be corrupted and have like a good statement, and then once they have the power,
Right.
like Snow
Snow knew
at
that.
the end tricking his other Anus friend's family into thinking that he had nothing to do with his death. Why were the two main characters Coriolanus and Sir Janus? Like, why was that their names?
I love it.
Of anything they could be named.
It's pretty wild. I do like the name Coriolanus.
I prefer Cornelius, and I thought it was Cornelius Snow for my entire life until
Are you
this
serious?
book and movie came out.
You're like, yes, Cornelius Snow.
Yeah. Like always. Like even
That's
in
crazy.
in the other movies, did they say it? Like I don't remember
Yeah.
it ever.
Well, most of the time he was just called President Snow. Like there's power in a name, and I don't think that everyone remembered.
Snow lands on top. What a
He had
great
some
motto.
bangers. He had some
Great-
banger quotes that he
great
told
motto.
Katniss, and and I honestly think, like, in some sense of the word, he wasn't wrong. And I think that's also what made him likable. In his own mind, he was like, this is the only way to control these rebels who just want to see the death of civilization as I know it. And he lived through that war in the
Lives were
capital.
meaningless to him.
I get it. Why he would think that, especially with songbirds and snakes. So
Mhm.
I 100% agree with you. It's just,
there was no value to human life except for how he could like leverage
wield it.
that death or life. And like, damn, if I was put in a room with him, he would definitely kill me. And I
See, and I truly think he wouldn't think it was worth it to put the effort into killing you. That's his energy.
he knows
You know what
that
I
he would
mean?
not be able to successfully run like a rebel uprising.
Yeah.
And he knew the power of song all along.
Mm-hmm.
I give up my
Villains are one of the most, I would argue, the most important character of your book. I will argue that.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it is a villain that the main character is like fighting against, that is going to be the biggest obstacle that they have to work around. And without a well-made obstacle, a book is not gratifying at all.
I think that really plays into, from like our least favorite tropes episode, the build up to nothing.
Yeah.
If you're gonna have the tension drive the book with no satisfying ending, that's what like where a good villain comes in, because like the conquering of a good villain takes a lot of work, and to fully write that and flesh that out, satisfying. Do, 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 do.
What are we reading right now?
Wow. What are you reading right now?
I am reading a lot of books. What am I not reading? Honestly. I'm so good at no, I'm just kidding.
That's-
I actually have just had time to read.
It's so just not me. I could not read multiple books at once.
No, I think I'm reading 5 right now. But the one I wanted to talk about was The Aurora Cycle by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I have read this book before, but it's been a few years, and I forget how, like, it's very YA, but it's still just, like, it has some feel-good elements to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like, it's found family. It's we're all in a spaceship doing stuff. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy. Honestly, that is, like, the best descriptor for it. It's Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's great. It's fab. I really like all the characters. I haven't read the third book in the series yet. I only read the first 2 because the third one wasn't out. And so I'm really curious how it either ends or it's going to keep going. Right now, it's like a plague upon the universe that's happening or whatever. And it's super interesting. There's like powers at play. One of the characters in the book like came out of cryo sleep when she was supposed to be dead. Like 200 years later, which is super interesting. And so she has a very different perspective on like stuff that's happening, because she was like, I was just going to go to like this Mars base to like learn about all this stuff. And now here I am waking up in cryo sleep 200 years after, and everyone I know is dead. And now I'm like dealing with aliens that I never have had to like, how have we seen these species before? Is this just like known to everyone? Cause like, why is he completely white? Why do we have like a fairy on board? Why does he have pointy ears? Very interesting. I really like it.
That is interesting. Huh. That is something with like doing this podcast, is realizing how much more YA we read than
other people.
A lot of people.
We read a lot of YA.
We really do. We love YA. There's a market for it.
Sometimes they're just written better. And I like, there's a time and place for spice and like new adult books, but honestly, like sometimes I just want a good story that I
read those.
Cuddle up 200, 400 pages and just be like, yeah, that was great.
Well, the same thing goes for any like spiced book. Some cinnamon and
spiced book. Yeah. What do you spice your book with?
Argyle. That's a pattern.
Oh my god. I can't believe you said that.
It sounds like a spice.
Even if you're like, what were you trying to say? No. Argon? Like that's a
cardamom.
Chemical.
I
like,
don't know.
Cardamom
sounds like it could be
cardamom.
Texture or
what would cardamom feel like?
I couldn't even tell you what cardamom tastes like.
Okay. What are you reading right now, Teresa?
I'm still reading Lord of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien. I'm still on the Fellowship because, frankly, I hit a slump because I got sick and re-addicted to TikTok. And
gotta get off of that, girl.
Reading all the hate comments towards us. And no, I'm getting over it. And we're not mad at the people that commented males that lost their powers. Just the people that were mean to us. Anyways.
I'm not even mad, honestly.
I'm not mad.
I like had to just like, take a break. I've logged out of our TikTok account.
I had to see it all.
Like, tired.
Once I'm like, ugh, just tired of it.
You're a glutton for punishment sometimes.
And I'm just busy. But my sister and I are reading it together, and she is finally like, you just have to sit down with a snack and some tea, and then you'll like get into the flow of it. And I'm like, I know that's what I need to do. But Gandalf just needs to get out of my head so I can read it smoothly, and it's not like
that wizard man is living in your head rent free.
And he does. I need him to like go for a walk so I can like have the house to myself for a little bit.
I picture this is like your inner monologue is just Gandalf speaking.
It is. That's what it is.
No, like every day.
Oh,
like
no.
Here I am pouring my tea. I don't know if that's anything close to what
that did. Like. Honestly, that wasn't a bad impersonation. I'll be honest. It's pretty good.
Great
for someone that hasn't watched Lord of the Rings.
No, I have now.
You have?
Yeah.
Was it the extended edition?
Yeah. I watched it with you in one day. All 3 of them.
When?
When you lived in 1421. The year after. Yeah.
I had like
8 pieces of bubble gum that were hard as rocks.
Oh,
Yeah.
I forgot about that day. Oh my gosh. In our giant tub of double bubble.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Aw. Oh, yeah.
I watched all of them. I haven't watched
Just
The
kidding,
Hobbit.
and I was even the one that showed her. I do have the memory of a goldfish.
Mm,
And I never claim to know everything.
it's okay.
But we're doing fine. We're doing all right.
We hope you're doing fine.
We make a podcast for funsies. You don't have to listen. You can if
But
you
we're
think it's
so
entertaining.
glad that you're here.
I've
and
never
that you're
been so
listening.
grateful for the people that tell me nice things about it. I'm like, oh, thanks.
We thank you for listening to this episode of Last Two Pages.
We hope you like it, and we'll see you on the next page.
You don't have to do that.